We want to welcome you guys back to this is, as it has become at least, is the train station. And I love this idea of the train station. I can't stop telling Kale how much I love the idea of the train station.
This is true.
And she just has to live with it. And in fact, I've got something really special to share with you guys today that I can't wait to share with you. Not quite yet. It's coming really soon though. But as part of our pre-show, I just wanted to let you know that there's something awesome that's about to happen. And I'm glad that you guys could be here with us to share it. Now, Kayla, I've had a pretty busy day. I've been live streaming. We live streamed to our head instructors group, and Kayla's been working away in the office. But you had a chance to get out with the dogs. I know it's a little bit hot today, so what did you end up doing with the dogs?
I did my infamous prop walk that I
Yes.
do almost every day if I can. We have 22 beautiful acres of land where we have our training school, and it's so nice after like working in the office all day and like not going outside, because once you for me, once I get started, I can't stop on something.
Right.
So yeah, I took the dogs on a walk. It was really hot, but there's still like a little bit of water left over in some of the streams.
Yeah.
So they were swimming when I got home. I told Ken that a little hippie, our little toy poodle, she's about like 9 inches tall, about
If you guys have seen the channel
pounds,
before, you know Hippie
6
Show.
pounds. She's so small, and forever she's been like really wanting to go in the water, but she's like not totally sure. And for whatever reason, tonight or to this afternoon, she just went in and started swimming around, and then she would come out, and then we should go in. I couldn't stop laughing because she's so cute.
Yeah,
she's so little.
I know, and she is she looks dramatically different when she's wet.
She literally looks like a drowned rat. Like, I know that's like a saying, but she actually, I should have taken a picture of her.
Yeah,
actually, we do have some great pictures of her.
We do
wet.
from when she swam in
She
the
likes
kiddie
to
pool.
chase the hose as well. Like she likes to attack the water that comes out of the hose.
That ended up
She's
being a pretty cute video.
A total nut, but anyways, it was pretty cute today.
I see Madison Winters is joining us on YouTube, and I also know, or we should be broadcasting live to our Facebook group as well. So thanks for joining us here today, guys. We're actually going to be talking about handling today. And when people think of handling, they might not be thinking of handling the way we are, because we know that there are so many applications for handling, and you need your dog to be comfortable for them, including but not limited to like a vet assessment or, checking your dog for injuries. For those of you with sport dogs, it's really helpful to have a dog who is comfortable with being handled. But there's a couple of really unusual scenarios that Kayla's experienced with her dogs. Having them comfortable with handling was crucial.
Yeah, and I think
Totally
it's a really common, when we talk about this in our classes or whatnot, that the most common phrase we get when we introduce this exercise is, "Oh, my dog's really good with handling." And then when we watch, it's like the person is more like petting the dog.
Right.
And so today we're going to talk about, handling in situations where you actually really need to either A, have control over your dog, B, help your dog or whatever, examine your dog. So it's a little bit different for dogs than just like lying down and petting them, which most dogs absolutely love for sure. So we're just going to get a little bit more detailed about that topic. This will be good.
For sure. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I want to welcome Brian to the stream. Brian asks, how do I trim the face of a small dog? Now, if you've seen our YouTube channel, you know we've trimmed Hippie Shake's face. We'll get, maybe we'll touch on that. I can definitely point you to a video, Brian, either after the stream.
I am not an expert in that.
No.
Most people make fun of it. I can cut it
challenge.
short, but I can... a professional groomer would probably be a better person to ask, but I definitely can give tips on what I do
for sure
with my dog, because I have to trim her face on a regular basis.
Yeah, and as we welcome more and more people to the stream, I want to welcome you guys to the train station. And if you're here last week, you'll know I made a bumper just for the train station.
Can you make this bumper into a t-shirt? Because I want to wear a t-shirt with all the dogs' heads on it.
It's working, guys. Did you guys hear that?
I don't want it to say train station, though.
The idea of the train station. I'm so excited. It deserves a bumper roll.
I just wanted a cute t-shirt with the dogs' faces.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think you're going to get maybe both. We'll see.
Is it covering their faces, or am I just not seeing it?
Yeah, no, I didn't execute that with, precision. So I think maybe I should roll the train station logo again, just so that you guys can enjoy it as well as me. Let's watch it just one more time. Now, as I mentioned before, the hardest part was getting them all to stand still while I took a picture. But once we'd solved that problem,
And the train behind them was so loud. And
yeah, it was quite loud, and we had to work through some of those things as distractions.
we had to wait forever for a train to go by.
But that's not the only exciting thing. Oh, I see Sophia in the YouTube chat says, Suit Sue. Now, see, here's the challenge I've been having. Anytime anyone says train station, I do this pretty crappy.
Dorky.
Yeah.
Dorky.
Toot toot. Well, I've solved that problem for you guys. So every time anybody says a train station, we say train station. And I have a train whistle now that I can use.
Have you been practicing that all day so that it would work when you tried it?
No. I just made sure it worked before we got on the live stream. So I don't think it requires too much technique. That's sort of the beauty of the train whistle. And if you guys saw this live stream last week, you'll know that I gave Kale this exciting present of the train conductor's hat, and it's actually
very thoughtful.
I mentioned it's not like movie quality hat. Like, you know, at shift changeover, there's no one's going to be giving Kale the keys to the engine. But I think she should probably just pop it on because she's the conductor. Maybe I will then. I don't know if it'll fit my head. It is a kid's hat. I don't know. You know, I feel like an artist almost. I'm not sure.
We need to get you a paint set.
Yeah, I know. But if this is your first time here, this is the train station, formerly the McCann Dogs live studio, but this is a train station where we all hop aboard the training train. And today we're going to talk a little bit about handling. And I'm going to go to camera 2 really quickly here and show you our little training area that we're going to be jumping to so that you guys can see what we're talking about and how we make all of our puppies really comfortable with handling. So now that our pre-show has ended, let's get right into it. So I'm just going to turn this off. Now, there are all kinds of reasons for teaching your puppy to be comfortable with handling, whether it's something like a vet appointment, for grooming, for nail trimming. And we talked a little bit earlier about sport dogs. It's great for injury assessment, but there's also things like giving your dog a medication and you know, everything to do with grooming them. Not only that, but if your dog were to get away from you, would they be comfortable with someone taking their collar? Is your dog comfortable with you taking their collar? These are all really important things that we know and we pass along to our students in our classes, and we talk a little bit about in our My Dog Can program. So on that note, today we're going to talk about handling and how you can make your dog comfortable with it. I'm Ken Steep.
I'm Kel McCann.
Welcome back to McCann Dogs. So we have a few reasons that we wanted to talk about this. And first and foremost, I want to talk about a unique experience that Kale has had when you were swimming your dogs one time. And I think this is, case in point for truly, having a dog that's comfortable being handled. And you can tell our audience just a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was one summer I went to a conservation area to swim the dogs, and I didn't, then I, put them in the car. I went to work to teach for the night, and I had many dogs with me, but I was teaching with my Border Collie Slice that night. And I noticed that when she was lying down, she kept sort of like grabbing at her back leg and sort of seemed a bit comfortable. So I just had her lie down just to take a look. And when I looked in her flank of her leg, there was a fish hook that had gotten right through, pierced through the skin, right through like the other side, like almost like a piercing.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice. It must have happened when we were swimming at the conservation area, and a Border Collie, being a Border Collie, having a lot of fun. It must have hurt when it went in, and then she just decided to continue swimming and having fun.
Yeah,
so,
she is a pretty stoic dog.
Super stoic. So I didn't notice. Anyway, so when I noticed it there, obviously I didn't want to leave it in any longer, and we just, after the class was done, we had her lie down on her side, and myself and a fellow instructor, good friend of mine, just talked to her, and we just very carefully got the hook out without injuring her any further. And I know that it was a very uncomfortable experience for her. It was very painful. But because we had worked so much on handling and making sure that she trusted us and was okay, she laid there perfectly still, and she was just such a trooper through the whole thing. But it didn't take very long for us to get it out and to clean it and to and to make her better again. So I was really happy that she was so cooperative during that moment.
Yeah, and sometimes things will happen that you just can't prepare for. So having her really comfortable with handling, and we're going to show you some of the techniques that Kale used on Slice with Beeline, maybe, or one of our dogs.
They're all good with it.
Yeah, we'll bring out one of our dogs to show you guys, but how your dog can be comfortable, being touched, being manipulated, being assessed, because you never know when you're going to need a skill like that. It's really, really helpful. And before Kale goes over there, it gives me an opportunity to say welcome to the train station, and then one more time. I mean, I just wanted to throw the whistle in there because I know how much you can see the scowl on Kale's face every time I bring this little fella out.
Somebody should make this like a drinking game or something, and every time he blows the whistle,
I know,
you can have a beer.
It's just so much fun for me. I don't even know why it's so much fun. But another way to reason for applying those, the comfortability of handling is giving medication to a dog. So Jitterbug, she's passed now, but she had Addison's disease and she required pills every day. And it would be hard to manage, a dog if you didn't have that perfect pill pocket scenario, or you just needed to give a dog medication for whatever reason. And Jitterbug was such a sweet, comfortable, relaxed dog, also an agility champion. Right?
Yep.
But
awesome.
you could hold her and handle her, and being able to give her a pill because she was comfortable being held was really, really helpful. But I guess the question of the day for you guys, and I see some comments coming in on the chat, both Facebook and YouTube, but is your dog comfortable with handling? And if not, is there one specific thing that your dog is uncomfortable with? Now, I know a little bit earlier Brian mentioned on the Facebook stream that he talked about trimming the face of a small dog. Now, neither Kale nor I is a groomer, but we know through some of the handling practices, we've made Hippie Shake a little bit more comfortable with handling. We're going to get to that. But let's start off with just the kind of thing that we introduce our puppy school students to, our Head Start puppy school students to, with handling. And let's just show a couple of exercises where you might just do it like an assessment, or as you make your way around the dog. And we know that, when our dogs are young, that this is a very impressionable time for them. So, doing exercises like handling with them, it can be really, really helpful as they're learning. I'm going to turn on this backlight, and then we're going to head on over to the train station.
Let me know how close I need to be.
Okay. I think you are probably right in the right spot, just as long as you bend down. Good. You're good there.
Closer?
Sure.
Hey, come here. Good boy. Leave that, buddy. So, when we're first introducing our dogs to handling, which is something that Ken and I start off with our dogs as baby puppies. So when we first bring them home, this is something that we condition our dogs to do right from the beginning, because then what happens is you're less likely to have problems develop because you're being proactive. And rather than waiting until your dog's, doesn't like something, we're trying to build so much value for touching and handling the dog that's not really an issue that we have to deal with. So when you're first starting this with a new puppy, or even an older dog, it doesn't matter if you start now and you hadn't done this before. Basically, what you're going to do is associate touch with something that your dog loves. Are you trying to give me your paws? Thank you, buddy. So when I first do this, what I would do is have some food, and I like to practice this with my puppies during like breakfast or dinner time when they're already, wanting the food. So I'm just going to sort of let him nibble away on the food. And as he's distracted by the food, I'm going to take my opposite hand and touch different parts of his body. So I might run my hand over his eye. I might, grab a hold of his ear. I might slide my hand down. I'm just going to go a little bit awkward here so you can see. Hold on. That's very cute. I'm going to slide my hand down his leg, and I'm going to hold on to it. All while I'm doing that, I'm going to say the word yes that pinpoints that he's correct, and then I'm going to reward him. So again, touching all kinds of different body parts. I can lift his lips up. Yes, good boy. But when you're starting this, it's very important that you distract the dog with food. So what I wouldn't want to do for the very first time practicing this is have no reward present. Try to do the touching, which opens up a possibility for a battle. And then I'm starting off with an opportunity for the dog to maybe make poor choices. And I don't want to begin that way. I want to set my dog up for success, which is why you're going to use something that's pretty delicious too. I'm just using kibble right now, but Slam hasn't had his dinner quite yet. So this is some of his dinner right now. I'm using the food to distract, and then I can go from there. And then obviously as the dog gets better, you certainly want to progress to being able to hold your dog and do all of the different touching spots without having to have food right on their nose. But that's something that you would progress through, or two, as things get better. And you want to be very thorough. As I had mentioned at the beginning of the live stream there, it's very common for people to do like, yes, and pet the dog. Well, this is like praise, this is petting. When your vet goes to examine your dog, they examine your dog very thoroughly. They're going to stick, something in their ear to see. They're going to lift their lips. They're going to do all kinds of things. Open their mouth up. Good boy. They're going to palpate their belly. They're going to lift their tail. I want to be able to do all of these things. So no matter what I do with my dog, he just is super compliable, and he's very acceptant of any of that handling. And it's important that when you're practicing that you're being very deliberate with your touch so that the dog becomes accustomed to that type of handling. Boy, does that feel good. That's a sweet spot right there. Yes, it is.
Yeah, and I think it's so important to be thorough, but just as important to spend a little bit of extra time. If there's a place that your dog is uncomfortable about, and for a lot of dogs, that's touching their feet.
Feet and face.
Yeah, so
feet and mouth are probably the biggest things.
Yeah, so if we were talking about nail clipping, so let's imagine for a moment that Slam was uncomfortable with something like nail clipping. How would you work with a dog who was, a little bit unsure about that nail clipping process to get them more comfortable with everything that goes on with nail clipping?
Well, what I always like to do, so I just went to grab my nail clippers here. What I like to do initially when I'm getting my dog comfortable with nail clipping is I'll get the dog very comfortable with the actual clippers themselves. So I might let him sniff it. Yes, good boy. Reward him for that. The other thing I want to make sure that he can do is allow me to hold his paws. So see how he's sort of pulling away right now? I'm just going to simply hold. Yes, good boy. When he's relaxing and Funky, be quiet.
You can hear Funky wants to...
I'm pretty sure you don't want to come get your nails cut, so. So I'm going to hold on to his paw. Good boy, yes. So he's pulling away, so I don't want to feed him. Yes, good boy. When he's not fighting me, yes, being good boy. Yes, I'm going to give it a good old squeeze. I might sort of put my hand between his fingers. Oops. So he pulled his hand away. I'm going to try that away.
His paw and toes.
Yep. Yes, that's better. So what I'm feeling for is no resistance. So he doesn't have to love this, but he has to accept it. Yes, my love. Yay. So once he's okay with that, I might hold on to his paw, take my nail clippers. Yes, good boy. And just simply place the nail clippers on his paw. So I'm not actually clipping, I'm just getting him comfortable. You're so cute. Yes, good boy. Again, I'm saying yes as he's doing the behavior correctly, and then I can reward from there. Now, one of the things that we find people do is they try to do this, and then this is what happens. So they hold the paw, and the dog's pulling, and they'll yes and reward that. So you want to be careful about that. The other thing that people often do is they'll do the behavior, yes, and then they'll reward. So you notice I didn't yes him. I didn't pinpoint his correct behavior when I was actually doing the hardest part, and that's putting the clippers on his paw. I did it, when my hand was away, and I don't want Slam to think the best part of this is when my hand comes away. So it's very specific, the timing. My clippers are placed to his paw. I'm holding it there. Yes. Yesing this. And then if it takes a second or two to get the treats, that's okay, because I've already, come here, buddy. Come here. I've already pinpointed that behavior with good timing.
Yeah, and you'll notice, or you'll have noticed, that when Kale was feeding Slam is when she was still hanging on to his paw. So we don't want Slam thinking that the moment he's able to get his paw away, or if you're maybe lifting your dog's tail when they get to drop their tails when they're rewarded, not only is she using her yes, but in that instance specifically with his feet, she's really had a gentle hold on his paw as he was being rewarded, which was really just sort of reassures Slam that this is a very positive thing. Having your paw held is a really positive thing.
That's another reason last week you talked about trick training. I love to teach my dogs to shake a paw and to wave and to high five, because it just gives you all kinds of additional repetitions of having them interact with you with their paws, and something positive is happening during that time.
Yeah, and can we talk about grooming maybe just a little bit, just about brushing and getting their dog, if it's a puppy, maybe getting them comfortable with something like a brush?
Yep.
So I know we talk about physically manipulating the dog, but some dogs and puppies are a little more uncomfortable when it comes to being brushed, or being groomed. And with some of those breeds, I know Deegan's a good example. She has quite an undercoat that I need to brush out a couple times a year. And if she weren't so comfortable with handling, I'll just go back to this camera while Kale's setting up. But if she weren't really comfortable with handling and with being groomed and being brushed, then it would be a really awkward experience. But what's funny about Deegan is that when I get the slicker brush or the Furminator, I mean, that's a brand name, but when I get that brush out, she immediately comes and leans on my legs and sort of curls away because she can't wait to be groomed. But we did a lot of work, her and I, grooming, rewarding, and the sensation of being groomed eventually just sort of blends into that being rewarded. Hi, Slimer. Hi, buddy. And this is Grand Slam. In case might be your first time on the channel, we have lots of videos with Grand Slam in it, including a couple really
Mr.
fun,
Perfection.
a couple really fun brain games that we created. And he's an amazing dog, and he's one of our favorites for sure.
Actually, I can tell you for him specifically, he got injured in agility, and so we've been doing like a whole bunch of rehab stuff, and I had to when we were trying to determine the cause of his injury, he had to get x-rays and ultrasounds and all kinds of stuff. And my vet is fabulous, but because she knows about his training and his confidence and his ability to, lie quietly and accept handling, we were able to do the x-ray and the ultrasound without putting him out in any way. So literally...
The perfect patient, buddy.
He is the perfect patient. I just put him in his position on the little x-ray table, and I came in with my vet. We wore the
lead vest.
Lead vest, that's right. And I just put him in the position they had asked. I told him to wait, and they took his picture, and it was over and done with in like a minute or so.
Yeah.
And so that was really nice. A lot less stressful for me and way less stressful for my dog. But it's because, we work really hard on getting the dog comfortable with those types of scenarios and teach them to be acceptant, but also to be confident and not to stress. Because I want him, even though he might not be super comfortable in that moment, he trusts me, to the ends of the earth. And, even if he's not super confident about what he's doing, he trusts that I'm not going to put him in a bad scenario. Yeah. And if I just reassure him, then he's like, I don't love this, but mom says it's okay, so I'm going to go with it.
Right.
And that's what we want from our dogs.
And as we sort of touched on earlier, you never really know when you're going to need some of these skills. You just want to be prepared for them. And not only are these events stressful for your dog, but they can be really stressful for you. And, the whole, the idea of you're in a panic, you need your dog to be relatively confident with the idea that you can take them up, for example, in an emergent scenario, or that you can, help them out however that needs to be done. But let's see what's happening. So Naveen asked, is he crying? That was actually Funky Monkey over there. These guys are just off camera, a couple of them, and Rad and Funky were playing. They often play when we do anything with another dog out here because they can't wait to get out.
They also get jealous when I work one dog and they can see I'm interacting with one dog. They want to be the one that's like the star of the show.
I know. So if you are watching the stream or if you're watching the replay, if you have any questions about handling, now's the time that you guys can start to ask them. If you are on mobile and you're on YouTube, the chat is just below your player window, and I think on Facebook it might be below as well. But if you're on desktop, you should see it right beside you. Now, I want to talk a little bit about, so we talked a little bit about grooming. Let's talk about taking the collar.
Super important and way underrated.
Yeah, totally is. And how many of you guys have a dog who you seem to know the length of your arms? They get in pretty close and you go to reach out to take them or pet them and you're outside and they duck away. They know exactly how long your arms are, but you can actually train your dog to move into that collar grab position. You can train your dog so that they love every single time you take your collar. And the other day, we had a neighbor's dog had made their way through their fence and out of their property onto our property and came up to Kale. And luckily, and they didn't know because he's normally in a pretty secure area, they didn't know he was out. So he came up to Kale and Kale was able to take his collar, pick him up, and bring him back. Now you have to think, like, if my dog were in that scenario, would someone be able to take them up really easily? Because it's so important. It really is. And again, these emergent scenarios, you need to prepare for them, and you don't expect them to ever happen.
Yeah.
But it's so comforting to know that if they were to get in a situation like that, that, all is not lost.
I think two things were great. One is that he's quite a lovely dog, and he's friendly, but also in that moment he was a little bit unsure because he doesn't really know me very well, and I bent down to try to get a hold of him, so he wasn't really super sure about it. But also you need to make sure that you're interacting with the dog in a respectful and proper way as well.
Right.
I think that a lot of people create issues by handling the dogs poorly, and most of the time it's just because you don't know any better. Lots of people are really bad because they just want to get the dog for just grabbing them really quick before they can run away. And if you do that a couple times, your dogs are so smart, they're going to learn to avoid that right away. So it is important that you take your time and you work through this. But if you train this as a skill, you're going to get better at taking control of the dog. And, most importantly, the dog is going to start to be more comfortable with, human hands coming out to take a hold of them and them not stressing about that. We actually like to teach our dogs basically, like, here's my collar, like, take a hold of me. I love when you do that because we condition them so much that it's a really rewarding thing to do.
Yeah.
Or to have happen.
I think let's demonstrate that, because I think that skill is so useful and be so helpful for you guys at home that it also gives me an opportunity to say, we're heading on back to the train station. This is the best $4 I've ever spent, I think.
That was a little weak.
Okay.
That was better.
It's actually pretty loud. I hope I'm not blowing you guys away at home.
Okay, here, Funk.
Oh, you might have to back up just a little bit. That's probably good there.
Okay, so when I'm first teaching this, now, one thing that I am not doing well right now is I don't have a leash or a line attached to my dog. And I'm cheating a little bit because I am working with a fully trained dog at this point. But if she was a baby puppy or hold on, sit. If she was a baby puppy or she was a young dog or an inexperienced dog, I would absolutely practice this with a leash or a line on my dog so that she doesn't have the opportunity to run away from me and rehearse that behavior. Just relax, Missy. So I would have a leash or line on. Now, I'm not going to use it to pull and drag her in towards me. It's simply my safety line. It's there to make sure that she can't make a poor choice. But the main focus of this right now is going to be some treats and some rewards. And again, you need to be using things that your dog actually like and that are motivated by. So when I condition her to allow me to take her collar, what I'm going to focus on first is training her to come close to me. I'm never, when she's at a distance, going to reach out and grab a hold of her. I wouldn't want to do that to a dog. That can be very stressful. So I'm going to take the food, I'm going to draw her in nice and close, and when I go to reach for her, I'm going to go underneath her chin and grab her by the collar. We want to try to avoid grabbing dogs from over top of their head. Whether your dog's super confident or not, that's just not a pleasant thing for them. So I'm going to slip my hand underneath her collar, take a hold, yes, and then I'm going to reward. And I'm not being like, I'm really taking the collar. I'm not being hesitant or unconfident about it. I'm taking a hold. Yes, good girl, babe. Yes, and rewarding. And then as soon as I let go, the rewarding is going to stop because I want her favorite part to be when she feels me take a hold. So again, first thing I'm going to do, back up.
Maybe turn sideways just so they can see her actually moving into you.
Okay, so if she's at a distance, I'm going to pull her in with the food first, take a hold of her collar by reaching underneath her head. Yes. And then rewarding several times. And I'm going to practice that over and over and over again. And when I need to go pick her up to put her in the car, if I need to, grab her collar to put her leash on, whatever it might be, I'm going to make a special effort of drawing her in first, rewarding her, and then taking the collar. Just so that they're conditioned to do it that way.
Yeah, and you'll see, if Kale were to do it a few more times, you'd see Funky would literally continue moving into Kale. Yes. You'll see, you can see how much closer she wants to be because she finds it so gratifying.
And I just put my hand up. Okay, good. See how she comes right in? Yes, to reward her. Okay, go away. Wait, come here.
Funky's excited.
She comes in really close because basically she thinks this is a trick. She thinks that it's sort of like a little bit of a trick. Now, it is a trick, but it's a super useful one. So tricks aren't always about, doing things that are cute. It's also about teaching your dog to do things that are really helpful for your everyday ability to control them. Can I show them one other thing I like to teach?
Yes. Are you going to, can you just back up a touch, or I'll just move the camera up a bit. Hold on one second. Okay, there we go. Okay, you're good to go.
What were you going to ask me?
No, I just wanted to move the camera.
Okay. The other thing that I like to teach my dogs is to tap my hand with their nose. And I like to teach them this because it's a great way to get the dog to come in close. Tap. Yes. Tap. 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 Yes. 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 Yes, good girl. So it's sort of a stupid trick, and it actually stems from a lot of things that we do for our agility training. But we have found it really helpful to teach the dog to come in close. So, and she, for whatever reason, smashing her nose into my hand is like a really fun thing for her to do. And a lot of dogs think it's a lot of fun. So if she's out in the field, for example, and I call her back, sometimes I'll call her back when she gets close. I'll have her tap my hand a few times, and then I'll say, okay, go. And then I let her run back out in the field again. Or sometimes I'll give her a couple of cookies. Sometimes I'll tug her. Tug with her, not tug her. But again, it's just conditioning. Come in close, commit all the way to me. Don't just come in, steal a cookie, and then take off. We call that at our dog school in the McCann drive-through. They come in, they eat the food, and then they take off before you can do anything with them. So it's giving them a job that's fun for them to do as they come in. And basically to teach this, I hold a piece of food between my fingers like this. There's many ways to teach it, but this is the easiest way. And essentially I just hold my hand out. Yeah. So when she goes to get the treat out of my fingers and I feel her touch my hand, I yes and reward. Yes, good girl. And you're going to do that a bunch of times. Yes. Now what happens is once you've done that a few times, when you go to offer your hand and you don't have a piece of food in your hand, the likelihood of them touching your hand because they're curious is very high. And as soon as I feel contact, I'm going to say yes and then reward by bringing my treat to my touch hand. Yes, good. Yes, good girl. Yes, good. I don't bother putting a command onto it because she's learning it. Once she knows the behavior consistently, then I say tap, which isn't very creative, but it makes sense. I could add a command at this point, but really the first portion is just offering your hand, yes, and then rewarding when they touch. But the dogs really like that one. It's a handy way to teach your dog to come in and stay close and give them something fun to do.
And not only that, and if you guys are looking for a little bit more,
I can progress even further.
more thorough description of that, I actually recorded a video just a couple of weeks ago. It's on our YouTube channel. For those of you that are on Facebook, you'll have to check it out on YouTube. But if you are watching this on our YouTube channel, you can definitely check it out right now. And if you're watching this on the replay, I'll have posted a card that should appear, boop, just above Kale at this point, so you can check out that video. Yeah, but Kale's got more to talk about, and I think I know where we're going with this, and I think it's going to be really helpful for these guys.
So,
and teach your dog how to hug. It's adorable.
Yeah, this is another trick. He's the cutest one. Give me Schnucks. Here, Schnucks. Schnucks. Schnucks.
Oh, there we go. So good girl.
Cute. All right, the other thing that I like to train all of my dogs to do, and this is specifically for handling, is I teach them to rest their head in my hand. Funky Monkey, get your little black bum over here. Come here. Come here, come here, come here. Good girl. Okay, sit. So I want her, can you see her okay where she is?
Yes.
Okay. I want, when I put my hand, that'll do. When I put my hand under her head, like this, under her chin, I want her to just learn to sort of rest her head in my hand. And I do that because when I'm holding her head like this, it's really easy for me to lift her lips, to look in her ears, just to do whatever I need her to do. And this is actually, I do this so that when I'm at the vet with her, when the vet wants to touch her, I just put my hand underneath her chin and she just sort of rests her head very gently in my hand. And the way that I teach it is, literally just placing my hand underneath her head, and then yes, I'm rewarding as she keeps her head in my hand. Yes, good girl. I don't actually have a command for this. I never really bothered. I just sort of hold her, but you see how you can't really maybe tell, but she's actually, her head's quite heavy in my hand right now because she's really learned that holding her head there is really helpful. And I find, so I'll just hold her head. I can lift her belly up. I want to be able to do all kinds of different handling, but you see how she just keeps her head in position here when I do that? Good girl, babe. Good girl. Yes. It just makes the different handling things that I have to do with her so much easier to control her. Hey, babe, that was so good.
Yeah, and you can see how comfortable Funky is being handled in general, and a lot of that is due to some of the exercises that Kale does with her. Now, something reminded me of at the end of a recall when you talk about feeding your dog. If you have a dog, I'm just going to switch back to camera one for a sec. If you have a dog who sort of maintains it at like a satellite distance, doesn't come in quite all the way. Actually, go back to Kale. It's pretty cute. They're working on a trick or something in the background. But you can make sure that you're rewarding your dog. Oops, did I go back to the wrong camera? Make sure that you're rewarding your dog within arm's reach of you. I would never step away from myself to feed my dog. And I think Kale's going to show us this a little bit, but it really encourages your dog to be nice and close to you. And again, we talk about being able to take your dog up in an emergency scenario or reaching out to take their collar. Well, if you feed them this way that Kale's about to show you with our little puppy Beeline, who's adorable.
I'm going to actually use her because she doesn't.
Hi, cutie pie.
She's learning this.
Yeah, okay, so this is good. Beeline's sort of in the learning phase for this, and you guys will get to see it firsthand.
You're talking about the touch, like the front, right?
Yeah.
Hi.
So let's go. I'm going to go to camera 2, and you guys can check that out. Welcome back to the train station. Almost missed it.
Come here, baby.
Okay, just look at where you are. Can you see where you are on camera?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
Quiet. Go and lie down. Good girl. So one of the things that we like to teach the dogs for the end of a recall or whatnot is to teach them to come in really close. And once your dog knows that hand tap and they know to target things with their nose, this exercise becomes really, really easy to teach. And Beeline knows that stuff already. So basically what I do is I take some food and I make sure that I have food in both of my hands. And that's to make sure she doesn't start targeting or coming to the same side of my body all the time. When I call her, I really want her to come to the front of me so I have really good control. So with her in front, what I do is stand really close and I just sort of use the food to lure her in. Yes, good. Now this is going to be good because she doesn't really know this yet. Come here, sit. So as I see her reach in closer, that's when I'm going to yes and reward. Good girl. Yes, good. Yes, good girl.
Can you just give us a profile of that,
yes,
like just totally
good.
Sideways?
Okay. Sit. Is that better?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yes, good. Yes, good girl. Yes, good girl.
Funky monkey. It's not your turn.
Yes, good girl. So she's already starting to figure out that when she touches my body, she's going to get a reward. So now what I'm going to do is start to put it on a command. And I use the command front for this. Front. Yes, good. Wait. You cheater. Wait. Front. Yes, good. Beep. Front. Yes. I'm feeding her out of opposite hands so she doesn't just get conditioned to coming to one side. Ready? Front. Yes, good. Front. Yes, good. You are too smart, Freckles. Good girl.
Yeah, and these exercises are so good to do with your dog. And I mean, it can be done in just a few minutes, a couple minutes a day, and you can really have them understanding this behavior. And the overall benefit is huge.
Yes, front.
Quiet, guys. Quiet, guys.
Good girl. Here. Then you can just sort of make it a game. I can actually get her to move now. Sit. Wait, right? Front.
Yep.
Yes, front. Yes, front. Yes, front. 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 Yes, good girl. Okay.
And you can hear the peanut gallery in the background starting to object that they're not the ones who are being trained right now. Now, if you have a question, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, drop it in the chat, and I will just go to a couple here. Crystal, the animal lover, says, thanks, Kale and Ken, for the great tips. Well, you're very welcome. Thanks for watching. I know Crystal's been a channel viewer for some time. We appreciate all of our guys that check out the channel. Melanie Caldwell says, very handy video, Ken. I think she's talking about the hand target one. And it's what's funny about a lot of the stuff on our channel is it's a trick video. It's actually a relationship building exercise disguised as a trick video. Totally. Your dog learns how to learn. Your dog builds a stronger work ethic. Your dog builds a stronger relationship with you. You get to learn how your dog learns. All of the stuff on our YouTube channel, that's the focus. We really, we talk about helping you spend some quality time with your dog, and we're focused on quality.
And I think what's nice about some of these exercises that I showed you is they're so fast to teach. So they really don't take a lot of time. They're not super intricate.
Right.
I mean, there's all kinds of things you can take your dog. There's behaviors that my dogs know that has taken months and months and months to teach. But things like this just take a few minutes. And if you do these types of exercises on a regular basis with your dogs, as Ken mentioned before, because they learn to learn, they actually start to problem solve, and they can learn some of these things really quickly. And dogs really enjoy that. So now what happens is you're taking an exercise that really requires a lot of control, and you're putting a really positive spin on it, so that your dog loves to do it. You know, when I call Bee to come and she gets close and I tell her front, like her eyes light up, her ears go up, and she's like, oh, that's a really fun one. And zoom, she comes in really closely. So now I'm not battling my dog for control. I'm training her that doing things for me is really a lot of fun. And honestly, they really, you know, I've done it a few times with her before, but you see how fast she figured it out. It's not because she's the smartest dog in the world, although I think she's pretty smart.
Yeah, Kale would tell you otherwise.
But the main reason why she learned it so quickly is because she understands how to problem solve because of all of the other things that I've trained her to do. And that's why it's so important to do these things with you. So even if you're not that experienced with dog training, I think you'll find that these are easy enough that you will be able to find success if you do it properly.
Yeah, they're really accessible, and they're so much fun. I mean, I love puppy time. When we have a puppy and we get to do some of these exercises with them, when we first had Beeline, we were probably shooting our vlogs most of the time. We're shooting lots of vlogs. So if you go back and check those out, you'll see all of the things that we're doing with Beeline, and like there's all sorts of great tips and tricks.
And
a
lot of our puppy videos we shot when she was like a baby.
Right. Yeah. In fact, our handling video that sort of prompted the idea for this live stream to help you guys to answer any questions or whatever you might have included Beeline when she's really little. And it's quite amazing. I actually think we're also going to make a video about how to teach your dog to lie on their side. It's a cool trick. It's great for Instagram for getting those like out of focus shots, but it's also really helpful in that assessment setting or when you're inspecting them.
I just saw something else. If you just generally like to look at cute puppies, we also have a couple videos that we shot. So Beeline is the daughter of my mother's dog, and we have another dog that we refer to a lot. His name is Rad, and my mom has Rad's sister. Her name's Purple. I'm probably losing you with all of these crazy dog names now. But anyways, we Beeline was born at my parents' house, and so Ken and I literally whelped her because of long story. We have a vlog about that too. But anyways, we whelped her, and at about 3 or 4 weeks old, my parents went to Florida for a couple weeks. So Ken and I took care of these 7
I'm going to stop you I'm not sure exactly where this story is going, but we were never supposed to get another puppy. We were never supposed to get another dog. No. That was not in the plans.
Not like ever again.
No.
Just in that moment.
Yeah, just like, from that litter.
Yes.
That was never the plan.
It wasn't my fault. She picked me.
Continue with your story, Kat.
Yeah. Anyway, so they left for 3 weeks, and during that time, I looked after the puppies, and I just fell head over heels in love with Bee. Her name was Periwinkle as a baby puppy.
Right.
They were all named after shades of purple since their mom's name was purple. Yeah. Anyways, to make a long story short, I actually up until like the last day was like, no, I can't get her. And then when we did the puppy tests, and I like literally thought in my mind of like somebody else having her and owning her and not me, then I was like, I need to keep her. Yeah. And the rest is history. And can you imagine if we didn't have her though?
No, I can't.
She's just like,
she's the best. Spectacular. But I could see that evolving. I could see that Kale was getting closer and closer to this puppy, and Beeline really was emotionally attached to Kale.
She was.
Which was pretty crazy to see for a puppy that age. But yeah, it was really, really adorable. So I just want to pop into the questions here. But before we get there, I saw Melanie had a great comment. Oh my goodness, Beeline is so cute. And I just wanted to share that. You are now
my new favorite person.
Yeah, that's the way to Kale's heart for sure.
They're all cute. She's pretty darn cute though.
We have a comment from Facebook. Nora Taylor, love your videos. Just signed up for the Puppy Head Start class starting August 9th. Wow, we can't wait to have you into the facility.
You'll love Head Start. It's so fun.
And some of those exercises are things that you guys will be working on in your Head Start class. it's such a great foundational skill for all puppies to have. But there will also be things like teaching your puppy not to jump up and not to nip, and socializing
Confidence
with other
building
puppies.
equipment,
Yeah,
play sessions.
you're gonna love that class. I love being an instructor in that class because I mean, how do you not love puppies?
And like
Puppies
Ken and
are
I know how to do all of this stuff, but whenever we get a new puppy, we always take that class with our dogs for the socialization and the distractions. In fact, we take all of the levels with the dogs.
We do.
But that one we really look forward to.
Yeah, and the structure is good. The structure of learning is really good. So you can definitely check that out. So I see Cassie's got a question from YouTube, and I think this applies here. So how long would you train your dog in a session? Now, why don't you answer this, and then I'll see if I can add on to that.
Yeah. Well, it really depends on the dog, but for all dogs, you should keep your training sessions very short and sweet. Dogs, especially if you have a young dog or a inexperienced dog, a dog that's not trained very much yet, they typically have fairly short attention spans, and what you don't want to do is train them past the point where it's easy for them to focus, and then you can build up the length of time as your dog starts to get more trained and you start to be like a bit more of a team and so on and so forth. But when we're training our dogs, I keep my training sessions quite short and sweet if I'm going to be doing them, and then I keep them interesting. So I wouldn't necessarily work on the same thing over and over and over and over again. I like to switch things up with my dog so that things don't get bored, or think of ways to make it more engaging and more fun for the dog by switching up my reward or changing locations or whatever it might be. But to make a long story short, keep the sessions short and sweet.
Yeah.
And do them more often. So what we like to do is train for short periods of time, many times throughout the day, so that the dog doesn't learn just to listen for like an hour when you have your treat pouch slapped onto your waist and you got your leash on, and then act like a crazy dog for the rest of the day. So it should be all day for little short spurts is best.
Yeah, and for Cassie, I'm not sure whether you have a puppy or a younger dog, but when we're in the training stage, I end up washing so many pairs of pants full of treats it isn't even funny.
You should wear a bait bag.
Well, so this is what I'm getting to is I don't want to wear a bait bag because I don't want the puppy to always be prepared. Like, no, the bait bag's on. We're ready to train. If I keep treats in my pocket at any point, I can do one of these handling exercises, or I can reward the puppy or dog for.
You can also put the bait bag behind your back.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't.
It's okay, Ken. I'll train you.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm super comfortable wearing my bait bag all the time, but I always have treats in my pocket when I have
agree.
a puppy.
I don't like wearing bait bags all the time either, especially if you're like doing something where you're active and it's like bouncing all over the place.
Sure.
And treats fill out and.
For sure. And I think, the idea, you don't want to train your puppy to expect that training time is only when the bait bag comes on. I think that's really an important takeaway here. Melanie Caldwell says, we need more vlogs. Funny you'd say that.
Yeah, we've been discussing
this. We've been talking a little bit about doing more vlogs. I love the vlog editing process. But it takes a lot of time and it takes up a lot of your life, and we're so busy that we want to make sure that all of our vlogs that we put out are fun to watch and are as much fun to create as they are for you guys to watch, and they always have been, and maybe we'll do them a little less frequently. There's a while there where we were doing daily vlogs, and that was trying, to say the least. But I think if we maybe post a vlog a month or something like that, we can keep you guys that are into the vlogs in the loop. So we're looking forward. We just got back from VidCon, which is a video creators conference, and we spent lots of time with really amazing people, like some of our close friends from the YouTube community. We also met some incredible animal creators. We met Jessica and Jamie from Gone to the Snow Dogs.
Yeah.
They're just amazing people, and we're looking forward to maybe working with them in the future. But we got all these ideas. The great part about being in a creator community like that is you get all these ideas for things that you might like to do. And Kayla and I, through the course of the trip as well as on the way home, we have so many exciting things planned for you guys. I can't wait to start sharing them with you, but stay posted. And if this is your first time on the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Those are the oldest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And this one's not really, we can answer it though. It's not really,
sure,
it doesn't have to do with handling, but it's
maybe
maybe a good one to talk about.
For sure. So Madison asks,
if a dog that is great with my family and people that she knows is unsure with strangers, doesn't really trust them, what can they do to avoid her barking and getting her listening and be calm? So when dogs are nervous around other people, one of the worst things that you can do is force the issue. So often it's a really good idea to give your dog something to do while people are nearby, and do it at a distance that your dog feels safe and feels confident. So, maybe being super close to a stranger is too overwhelming for the dog at that point. And
that's how she pointed at me. Super close to a stranger.
Pretty scary. So maybe you could try, starting at a bit of a distance and do things that your dog really enjoys doing. It could be tricks. It could be playing tug of war with you. It could be doing some, basic obedience skills, things that your dog really likes, basically to switch their focus to you and interacting with you and trying to get their mind off of that person. And as the dog starts to get more relaxed, you can have the person get closer. And build that over time. What I would not do, though, is force the issue and have what people often will do, and they really are doing this because they genuinely think it's helpful, but they like to stick their hands out and say, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, and they try to reassure the dog. And for some dogs who are truly worried about people, that's like their worst nightmare. They don't want to be forced to say hello to a person. So, if you're the handler or the owner of a dog that's worried, make sure that you're controlling the people that are near your dog to make sure that you're not putting your dog in an overwhelming scenario. And on the flip side, if you go to greet somebody with a dog that seems a bit nervous, just give the dog space. Be respectful of the dog's space. And most of the time, if the dog is going to come around, they'll do that on their own. But typically, if you're forcing the issue, it's not really going to help very much. That's not something that you can just like fix in one moment. That's like a long haul thing that you need to work on. So those are just a few different suggestions.
Yeah, and it's worth the effort. If you have a dog that's not necessarily reactive is such a specific term, and I don't want you to think that your dog's lunging out in aggression, but reacting to people, dogs, things. We talked a little bit about that last week in the trick training live stream, where you find a distance where your dog is more comfortable, and then you get them to work. You get them to sort of work through and be less focused on whatever those distractions or triggers might be, and they get to learn a trick. They get to be rewarded for being right. You get to do a lot of things to really help build that dog's confidence in that scenario. So don't push the issue. Now I see Crystal, the animal lover, asked for some brushing tips, and I know she did ask a little bit earlier about getting a dog comfortable with a brush. And what I'll suggest is exactly the way Kale demonstrated the nail clippers. Do the same thing with a brush. Just holding a brush in your hand when your dogs are around, you can reward them. You can touch the back of the brush. If it's a bristled brush, for example, you put the back of the brush where there's no unusual sensation to that. Put the back of the brush on your dog, and yes, reward them for that. And then you can, carefully but confidently introduce the brushing to your dog and reward them for that. It's really important that you do it slowly, especially if you're asking because your dog's already a little bit uncomfortable about being brushed, that you do it, in a super positive way so that they can build confidence and they don't feel like you're going to get them with the brush if they're not comfortable with it.
And make sure when you're doing these things that your dog is on a leash, and so that
right.
They can't
That's a really important point.
Running around the room and it turning into this like stressful moment. You want to be in control. You should have your treats and your leash and your brush, everything ready ahead of time, so that the whole situation can be very calm and relaxed and controlled for the dog. And then there's also some brushes that are better to start with, so ones that don't have as much friction when you're brushing your dog. So there's like something like one of those things that you put over your hand that's basically, it's better for like smooth coated dogs.
Right,
but I'll even use that for like my long coated dogs, because it's almost like you're petting them, but there's like a little bit of texture on their skin and their fur. And then you can go to something a bit more, because some of the brushes are made to like literally pull undercoat out, and it can pull on them. And so I wouldn't necessarily start with a brush that's that invasive. I might start with something a little more gentle.
Absolutely. On that, I want to thank you guys for watching. Now, if you have any ideas for live streams, things that you'd like us to talk about, we'd love to hear about them in the chat or in the comments below this video if you're watching it on the replay or watching it on Facebook. We publish new videos every single week to help you spend some quality time with your four-legged family member, and we enjoy being able to take our dogs out and do some things with them. And you can always hear when we get a dog out that the rest of the dogs are jealous. They want to be working
I tried to give some of them a turn today.
Yeah. But we had a lot of fun, and we hope we, shed some light on handling for your dog, and that you really the importance of it, that you really understand that it is a really important skill for your dog to have.
Your vet will thank you,
because you never know when you're going to need it. I just saw a couple questions pop in. I think we get carried away. We're training too long, so I'm trying to train 10 minutes. What should we be doing in between? We are such rookies. Cool whistle, Ken. I have to share this comment because it talks about the train whistle. So, did you get that? There it goes up. So, I might train for 10 and then put your dog in his crate for a few minutes while you rest. While it's, especially right now, it's really hot outside. So, 10 minutes is maybe too long. Really focus. Really focus on your dog's motivation level. You'll start to see them fade and wane a little bit, and you'll know that you might get a couple more reps in just to be sure that they can work through that feeling of not being super motivated, and then you can put them away, whether it's a quiet, comfortable place in his crate or something like that. It's a great opportunity to give you a break because you want to be on top of your game, and you also want your dog on top of their game as well. But really great question, and I'm glad we answered that. On that note, the train has left the station. I want to thank you guys for watching, and for all of you that love the train station idea.
I want to try it.
Oh, okay. Love the train station idea. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. On that note, I'm Ken.
I think you got a little spit in it. Sorry.
I think so. This is Kale. Thanks for watching. Happy training.
Bye.
Bye.